Former Obama administration officials within the last 5 years are used as evidence in the case. I'm Christine Frizzau reporting.
Right now at 5, the White House assuming federal control of D.C. police.
I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act.
7 News team coverage continuing with mounting reaction for and against today's historic move.
I can't say that given some of the rhetoric of the past, that we're totally surprised.
Plus, who will now lead the takeover? Also, a deadly explosion at a steel plant with scores injured and workers unaccounted for. What we've learned so far with the investigation just underway. Plus, a trigger device that allows a gun to...
Up to 900 rounds a minute fired with a single squeeze of the trigger.
...is back on the market. The 7 News I-Team reveals why the ban is no longer being enforced and the potential fallout.
I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back.
That's President Trump declaring an emergency in Washington, D.C. over crime and homelessness. Good evening to you. I'm Scott Thuman.
And I'm Megan Clark, and for Michelle Marsh. Now, the president has signed 2 executive orders that place D.C. police under federal control and deploy the National Guard. And right now, 5 o'clock, 7 News is on your side with live team coverage.
Yeah, 7 News' Tom Rousey and Josh Chapin are breaking down what these orders mean for our nation's capital and for you. Tom, let's start with you. When could these Guard members actually arrive, and how many can we expect?
Well, President Trump deploying them, Scott and Megan, and saying over the next few days, city residents should start to see them on the streets. In addition to that, the other big headline coming out of that press conference, the Metropolitan Police Department, which has its headquarters here in the Marion Barry building, well, it's going to be taken over temporarily by the Trump administration.
They fight back until you knock the hell out of them, because it's the only language they understand. But
President Trump announced a crackdown on crime in D.C., unlike anything any president has done since the city was granted home rule more than 50 years ago.
We're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States. I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act.
That section gives the president the authority to take over the Metropolitan Police Department for a 30-day period and longer if Congress approves. The president says Attorney General Pam Bondi will be in charge of MPD.
No more crime rampant in our beautiful capital. No more teenage girls beating a disabled man to death.
Bondi says Terry Cole will supervise MPD. He was just sworn in a few weeks ago as administrator of the DEA. After decades in the Drug Enforcement Administration, Cole most recently was in charge of public safety and homeland security for Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin. U.S. Marshals Service Director Gadi Serralta will supervise, quote, command and control. He was appointed to lead South Florida for the U.S. Marshals during President Trump's first term.
And you'll be so happy, because you'll be safe. When you walk down the street, you're going to see police or you're going to see FBI agents.
President Trump first deployed federal law enforcement officers to assist MPD late last week. This morning, he announced he'll also be deploying the National Guard within the next few days to protect city streets as well.
Now, as far as the takeover of the Metropolitan Police Department, I reached out to the White House. They say they expect it to last 30 days. However, that is, quote, subject to change depending on how things go. We looked up the original wording of the D.C. Home Rule Act. It only gives the president the authority to take over MPD for 30 days unless both the House and Senate give him permission to do it longer. They are both in recess right now. Reporting live outside MPD headquarters at Judiciary Square, I'm Tom Rousey, 7 News.
Tom, thank you. Now, during today's briefing, the White House shared this chart comparing D.C.'s murder rate last year to other capital cities around the world. And you can see our nation's capital has the highest rate of almost 28 per 100,000 people. The next is Bogota, Colombia at 15. The president and his administration also addressed recent crimes that made headlines in the city, including the murder of 64-year-old Reggie Brown. He was beaten by a group of teen girls who claimed they chased and attacked him because they were bored.
No more crime rampant in our beautiful capital. No more teenage girls beating a disabled man to death. No more of that. No more drive-bys. We're going to do everything we can. And working with the ATF.
All right, now all of the teens involved in Brown's murder were tried and convicted. However, under D.C. law, juvenile offenders can only be held until they're 21 years old. 7 News' Jasmine Stiles continues our team coverage tonight from over at the Alert Desk. And Jasmine, D.C.'s laws on juvenile crime, a big hot topic today.
Well, newly confirmed U.S. Attorney for D.C. Jeanine Pirro said the biggest factor is district lawmakers' failure to address youth crime. She sent a letter to D.C. Council asking them to overturn 2 laws for minors, one that allows reduced sentencing and allowing less than mandatory minimum sentences. During a press conference, Pirro railed against these laws she says puts residents in danger.
They know that we can't touch them. Why? Because the laws are weak. I can't touch you if you're 14, 15, 16, 17 years old and you have a gun. I convict someone of shooting another person with an illegal gun on a public bus in the chest, intent to kill. I convict him. And you know what the judge gives him? Probation. Says you should go to college. We need to go after the D.C. Council and their absurd laws. We need to get rid of this concept of, a no cash bail.
So Pirro's office doesn't prosecute juvenile crime cases, but she did say that punishing young offenders is the key to reducing violence in the district. Megan?
All right, Jasmine, thank you. And President Trump had already ordered an increase in federal law enforcement in the district last week after a DOJ employee was assaulted. And you are looking at new photos from the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Agency. They say last night, officers removed several illegal guns and drugs from the streets. And Trump's new orders now boost enforcement even more. 7 News' Josh Chapin picks up our team coverage. And Josh, the mayor just held her own press conference within the last hour. At 4, you mentioned how she talked about the president's first term during the pandemic, how she believes that may have shaped his view of crime in the district. Break down what else she's saying now in response to this federal takeover.
Well, Megan, the federal takeover today described by Mayor Bowser and MPD Chief Pamela Smith as more of a partnership. We pressed Mayor Bowser about what she meant by that, and she said that she is limited in what she can do, that she must comply with the law given the limited powers of D.C. and her government. After our repeated requests for interviews over the past few days, the mayor finally spoke to a room full of reporters this afternoon inside the Wilson building. She was joined by her police and fire chiefs. The mayor drilling down once again that crime numbers are at a historic low as contrasted with what the president said. The mayor said during special times of emergency, which the president declared today, she must give the services of the MPD to the federal government. But she was clear that Pamela Smith is still the chief in charge. The chief saying over the next 30 days, you'll see an increased police presence all over the district. She also said this.
We have a relationship with our community that is very important to us, our community members. And so having our Metropolitan Police Department working alongside of our federal partners who have come into the city to really help us assess and deal with the crime, that some of the crime spikes that we have, we will work alongside them.
D.C.'s police union supports the president's recognition of the crime crisis as laid out in the statement that you see on your screen there. They hope that the federal intervention is temporary and it paves the way to fix bad reform legislation. We will hear more from the police union as well as from Mayor Bowser when we see you at 6 o'clock. Scott and Megan, back to you.
All right, Josh, thank you for your coverage there. We look forward to those updates. Well, D.C.'s top leadership will likely have to testify in an upcoming hearing on the city's safety. Chairman of the House Oversight Committee, James Comer, posted on X that they're planning to hold the hearing next month with the district attorney general, the council chairman, and the mayor.
D.C. has taken some recent steps to curb juvenile crime, including expanding the citywide curfew and enacting extended curfew zones in hot spots like Navy Yard. The police chief has implemented another one in that neighborhood after a shooting during a large gathering of teenagers on Saturday. The curfew zone is in effect for those 17 and younger each night starting at 8 through this Wednesday. And the president addressed that today.
Entire neighborhoods are now under emergency curfews. Just this past weekend, gunfire went through, and you saw that the Navy Yard. I saw it this morning. They saw that they fought back against law. See, they fight back until you knock the hell out of them, because it's the only language they understand. But they fought back against law enforcement.
All right, so we have a map detailing the perimeter of the Navy Yard juvenile curfew zone. It's on our website, WJLA.com. Meanwhile, the citywide curfew, that is in effect each night starting at 11 p.m. through the end of this month.
And this summer, the city also implemented a program called the Late Night Hype, which gives kids and teenagers a safe place to hang out on Fridays. And it's a carnival-style event with some food, music, fun, and games. And there won't be a hype this Friday. We want to let you know. Instead, the next and final event is set for August 22nd at the Brentwood Hamilton Park in Northeast. But looks like a very good time. And we do want to know, when it comes to safety in D.C., your voice is what matters the most out of everything we're hearing today. And tonight, we want to hear from you. Scan the QR code there on your screen. You can tell us, do you think the federal government should provide law enforcement to help combat crime in U.S. cities? Right now, nearly 75% of those who voted say no, 73%, 27% say yes. So scan that QR code to weigh in.
All right, let's switch gears here. We're going to check in now on our forecast with meteorologist Steve Rudin.
Yeah, it was maybe a little sticky outside today, Steve, but I mean, overall tonight, not that bad out there?
Not so bad, but you know, the stickiness factor is going to be with us for a good part of the upcoming week. 87 degrees right now at Reagan National, 85 in Potomac, Leesburg now at 86 degrees. It's warm, it's humid. As we move through the evening, maybe you're going to the pool or just hanging out, temperatures will hold in the 80s at least early on. We drop down to around 80 degrees or so by 8 o'clock tonight. We will see a mix of clouds and sun at that point, because the sun is setting a little bit after 8 o'clock as our daylight hours continue to shrink away. Now, our wet weather chances over the coming days, perhaps a stray shower or two come tomorrow, mainly during the afternoon and west of D.C. Better chance for perhaps some stronger storms on Wednesday with gusty winds and pockets of moderate to heavy rain. By Thursday, chance for showers return, but we're dry on Friday and Saturday with temperatures at or above 90 degrees. Here's a quick look, an update for you. Tropical storm Erin, it's on the move. Cabo Verde Islands, that's where it's going to be, just off toward the west of 45-mile-per-hour winds right now. We'll take a look at the track and the spaghetti tracks that has some good news for Florida and the East Coast. Scott?
Steve, thank you. Our breaking news coverage on the federal takeover of D.C. police continues in just minutes. Despite crime down in the city, why many residents say they still don't feel safe.
Plus, it turns out a superhero was the one in need of a little rescue. What happened to a local Spider-Man just trying to bring some kids some joy?
In Pennsylvania, at least one person is dead after an explosion at a steel plant. Doctors are treating 10 at local hospitals. Initially, 2 people were reported missing, but search and rescue teams pulled one person from the wreckage, so now only one person is still unaccounted for. This happened just before 11 a.m. in Clairton, about 15 miles southeast of Pittsburgh. Right now, emergency crews are performing search and rescue operations, and the governor said his office is in contact with local officials. Megan?
All right, we hope for the best there. Jasmine, thank you. Well, tonight, 7 News is staying on top of a devastating house fire that killed 6 people, including 4 children. They're all said to be family members. The flames erupted Saturday in Waldorf. 3 other people lived in the home. 1 man was able to escape. The 2 others were not there at the time. The fire's cause is under investigation, but officials do not believe it was intentionally set.
All right, take a look at this one now. This is all caught on camera. Spider-Man in need of rescue. A man dressed as the legendary superhero in Charlottesville, Virginia, had scaled a building to entertain some children when he ended up getting hurt. Onlookers there watching for more than an hour as firefighters worked to bring him down safely. Spider-Man was able to give the children waiting below a wave and a thumbs up.
No, accidents happen, and we're glad Spider-Man could give a thumbs up there. So we hope that they're okay. Yes, yes, yes.
Today, I know it's like one of these great days, sun's out, nice temperatures for the most part, but there's always something churning out there, isn't there?
And it is hurricane season, and we're getting close to that prime period where the ocean and the Gulf are at their warmest, and that's where we expect development to increase. And we're seeing that a little bit right now, but Ocean City and Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, it's really nice out there. So good news for those of you going to the beach. People are, I think, packing their bags up and their umbrellas and heading in for dinner right now. But here is the latest on Tropical Storm Erin, and it's just a tropical storm right now, but as it moves over those warm waters of the Atlantic, look how it intensifies from a Category 1, a Category 2, and then perhaps a Category 3 storm by Saturday afternoon with wind gusts upwards of 115 miles per hour. Make that wind speeds. But right now, our maximum winds are just around 45 with those gusts at around 60. Now, good news for the East Coast. This is a look at all of our models that we use to help forecast the track of the hurricanes. Notice how it pulls away and off toward the north and eventually toward the northeast. So at this point, at least our forecast trends have Florida coastline, the small coastline of Georgia and the Carolinas in the clear, but watching it very closely over the coming days. Here's our view from atop the Watergate Hotel, all quiet and very, very pretty out there. A few passing clouds, nothing that's going to bring us any type of wet weather. Temperature-wise, it's warm, it's humid. We're in the middle to upper 80s right now. We have 190 degree over in Frederick, Maryland, but those feels like temperatures anywhere from the upper 80s to lower 90s, at least for the next hour or two. Here's the evening forecast looking over the city, National Cathedral right over here. There are the clouds. But once again, we do stay dry as those temperatures fall through the 80s. Once the sun is down, we're in the 70s, and by early tomorrow morning, we're looking at around 70 to 75 for the district, Arlington and Alexandria. A little bit cooler off to the north and west, and even some patchy fog come early tomorrow. Similar to what we had earlier today, it's not going to last very long, and it's not going to bring any air traffic delays. Hourly forecast for tomorrow, we're in the upper 80s to around 90 degrees. Feels like temperatures closer to around 95. Now, we're mainly dry for the day, but our futurecast does want to bring in a chance for a shower or two moving into Tuesday afternoon, Montgomery County over toward Baltimore, and then perhaps a heavier downpour by 5, 6 o'clock. Once again, very limited. They're going to be stray. Most neighborhoods will stay totally dry with better chances for wet weather moving into the day on Wednesday. Heat and humidity, it's going to keep our heat index values up around 100 degrees on Wednesday, mid to upper 90s on Thursday. Here's the next 7 days for you. We'll dry things out on Friday, lower 90s, and we stay in the lower 90s come Saturday and Sunday, and then around 92 and a chance for storms come early next week. Scott?
Yeah, it was another great day at Washington Commanders training camp. The Punisher visits team headquarters here in Ashburn. Plus, we catch up with defensive tackle Johnny Newton. He had a great game on Friday, but the team, not so much. Why Johnny said it was a wake-up call for everybody inside that building. That's coming your way next. But first, here are your Bally Bet Monday Misses.
Monday Misses is sponsored by Bally Bet.
Cal Raleigh continued his historic season with his 45th home run as the Mariners cruised to their 7th straight win on Sunday. The 2-run homer put Raleigh in a tie with Hall of Famer Johnny Bench for the second most home runs by a catcher. Despite historic rain, flash flooding, and an early 5-run deficit, the Brewers beat the Mets 7-6 on Sunday. In the game, it was a walk-off home run by Isaac Collins that gave Milwaukee their 9th straight win. The Mets lost their 7th in a row. The Brewers now hold a 6-game edge over the Cubs in the National League Central.
Monday Misses was sponsored by Bally Bet. Be sure to tune in for Friday Favorites.
We have reached the dog days of Washington Commanders training camp. It's all starting to feel the same. So that's why head coach Dan Quinn trying to break up the monotony, announcing there's going to be an intra-squad scrimmage tomorrow morning here at team headquarters. That's going to be a lot of fun. Now, take a look at some video from earlier today. Very light practice for the Burgundy and Gold. No pads, no helmets. They were just in jerseys going through the stretching line and just easy work for the Commanders. Now, it all stems from Friday's game, the preseason opener against the New England Patriots. Wasn't great, but this guy, Johnny Newton, was fantastic. Sack, forced fumble. I caught up with a defensive tackle after practice today about the overall team performance and the messaging from the coaching staff, from the players after the game of not really good against the Patriots. Is it kind of good that it happened now, so early in August, rather than September when the real thing starts?
Yeah, for sure. It was a wake-up call for a lot of players, including myself. We hold ourselves to the highest standard. I feel like that's the only way. And just looking in the mirror after that game, you just realize that was unacceptable. Even the players who didn't play, they were like, man, that wasn't good enough from us.
And how about this? A touch of Hollywood here at Commanders team headquarters for practice today. Hollywood actor, Montgomery County native John Bernthal taking in practice. You know him from The Walking Dead, The Punisher. Huge Commanders fan, born and raised here in Montgomery County, and he was excited about being here at practice, and he is flaunting wearing that jersey of the Commanders globally when he makes those movies.
I've been all over this world making movies, Morocco, Ireland, Greece, you know, all over North Africa, wherever it is. And no matter what time of day, I'm finding a way to watch those games. And over the years, it has been hard. But right now, it's payback time, you know? It's payback time. And I was on a set last year with that Hail Mary pass and went running through the streets of Morocco, grabbing people, you know, and you know, the truth is the truth. You can't mess with this team, and everything's right.
Hollywood actor, but just seems like a kid at a candy store here at practice because his eyeballs were like this, seeing the Jaden Daniels. His son was with him, so being able to share this moment with his son, who's also a quarterback. His son was spending some time with Jaden Daniels, Sam Hartman after practice. So John Bernthal, just a Commanders fan through and through. It was great to see him here at team headquarters in Ashburn. Guys, let's send it back to you.
Yeah, we love that. I mean, big name. Also, big guy. I've seen him do some action films. Is he available for special teams if we need, Scott?
Yeah, I actually posted some of the interview on my social media pages, and a lot of people were chiming in. Can John be a linebacker? Can he be a tight end? Because he has that build. So yeah, I think his playing days are behind him. He actually went to Sidwell Friends, graduated from Sidwell Friends, and I have a tennis buddy that actually went to high school with John Bernthal, and he told me John Bernthal was one heck of an athlete during his high school days. So maybe he has a little juice in the tank still. Maybe he can suit up for the Commanders down the road.
If we need.
Oh, love that.
Put him on the practice roster.
Exactly. Good to know. Good to know. Thanks, Scott.
All right. Thank you, Scott. We'll be right back after this.
7 News on your side at 5:30 p.m.
Welcome back, everyone. In his effort to make D.C. safe and beautiful, President Trump says he has pledged to move the homeless out of the nation's capital.
And our Nick Minock has new reaction tonight from one local nonprofit that has been working to address homelessness in the district for years.
President Donald Trump ordered the homeless to move out of the nation's capital immediately. The president writing, "We will give you places to stay, but far from the capital."
It's a pretty challenging day for those of us who work in the community. Being homeless is not a crime.
Tonia Williams is the CEO for the Greater Washington Community Foundation. She's disappointed in the administration's approach, telling 7 News the answer is housing, not harassment.
And that is what we're saying we need right now. Again, not to criminalize people, but to really provide housing options for so that people can get the support and have access to the to all of the riches and the opportunity that our nation's capital has to offer.
Just a few weeks ago, the president signed an executive order to shift homeless individuals into long-term institutional settings. On Monday, the Secretary of Interior, whose department runs the U.S. Park Police, said this.
Since President Trump's executive order on March 27th, making D.C. safe and beautiful again, the U.S. Park Police have removed over 70 homeless camps.
Although the D.C. mayor's office this spring reported that homelessness numbers are coming down, homeless encampments can be found throughout the city, including the one behind me, which is just steps away from the Lincoln Memorial and the Kennedy Center. Nick Minock, 7 News.
Nick, thank you. Now, as we've been reporting, Trump's biggest focus is violence in D.C. And we want to note crime in the district is down almost across the board. That's according to police data, which you can see aside me here. Now, year to date, sex abuse cases have dropped by half. Robberies have also had a decent drop, but many other crimes like murders, for example, have seen minimal decline, and car thefts have even slightly increased. A recent study in wards 7 and 8 found a majority of residents that they spoke with don't feel safe in their own neighborhoods. 7 News I-Team investigator Scott Taylor breaks down the research.
Terrence Staley lives and breathes the streets of D.C. He is the CEO of Alliance of Concerned Men, headquartered in Ward 7 in Southeast. The group's focus is on preventing, reducing, and stopping violence.
Go in the office, talk to him.
The 7 News I-Team showed him the results of a new research project by Safety 7 in Ward 8 and Ward 7. They spoke to more than 150 locals, most of whom said they don't feel safe. 46% said they have stayed home at least once in the last month. They feel unsafe. Do you agree with those numbers or not?
No, not about feeling unsafe. There are different things that have happened across the District of Columbia that have hit highlights, but in general, the district is not an unsafe space.
Safety 7 is a team of young adult researchers who spent more than a year getting to know residents in Ward 7 and 8. They specialize in high-quality research on children and families' well-being. After dozens of in-depth interviews and more than 60 focus groups, their research showed a lack of trust in law enforcement is another issue contributing to the sense people just don't feel safe. University of Virginia professor Joshua Ederheimer is a Metro PD veteran who also worked for the Department of Homeland Security. He doesn't put much stock in statistics.
A crime stats response to a perception of crime, it's not in sync with what an individual is feeling. Crime stats don't reflect victimization.
The CEO of Alliance of Concerned Men agrees with Safety 7 findings that struggling to afford food and housing contributes to crime and violence anywhere. Staley didn't need research to tell him that. His group is in the middle of organizing a backpack and meal giveaway later this month, but he says the community doesn't need handouts. It needs a system that includes jobs, education, and consistent access to a better quality of life.
There are resources out there to get, food and basic items, but not all the time is it brought to those individuals in their spaces. They're not always able to get what they need where they need it.
When people don't feel safe where they live and work, they want solutions now. But what Staley and Safety 7 say is needed to make the city more secure can't happen overnight, leaving everyone still looking for answers that aren't easy to come by. For the I-Team, Scott Taylor, 7 News.
Now, D.C. Attorney General Brian Schwalb is responding to that federal takeover of D.C. police. He said, in part, there is no crime emergency and added that they will do what is necessary to protect the rights and safety of D.C. residents.
Well, today, President Trump accused D.C.'s judges of being lenient on violent crime.
We're going to be appointing some judges. We have some open spots, and we're going to take people because the judges are letting killers out. They just say, go.
As 7 News just checked, and right now there are 15 total judge vacancies, and 2 just announced their retirements, which means we could have 17 vacancies by January. The process for D.C. to get judges on the bench is different from anywhere in the country. 7 News' Christian Flores dives deeper into that coming up at 6 o'clock.
Hands off! Hands off!
Well, some community members are pushing back against this federal involvement, and today a group gathered for a free D.C. rally in Northwest. Organizers say they wanted to make it clear that the district belongs to the residents and not the government. And another rally is underway as we speak. This is a live look from DuPont Circle in Northwest. You can hear all those horns. This group is also pushing back against today's announcement from the Trump administration. We've seen people holding signs saying no ICE and no National Guard. Our coverage continues on 7 News at 6 o'clock. Now, here's Steve with an update on your weather. Steve?
Alrighty, plenty hot and humid out there right now, so a good amount of sunshine to enjoy until it goes down at around 8:07 this evening. It's at 90 degrees right now at Reagan National. That's what it feels like. Feels like the upper 80s in Potomac and 94 over in Leesburg. Using your First Alert weather app, you can track temperatures and cloud cover for the evening. We'll hold in the 80s at least early on before dropping into the 70s later on tonight. Could even see some 60s come early tomorrow morning. Now, our wet weather chances, they're going to go up a little bit come tomorrow afternoon. More so moving into the day on Wednesday, but not looking at washout for any of the area. We'll have more on the chances for storms, plus the hot weather continues well into the weekend in just a few minutes.
All right, Steve, thank you. A judge denies the Trump administration's request to unseal grand jury materials from the Ghislaine Maxwell sex trafficking case. His scathing opinion on why.
Plus, 7 News investigates why a ban on a device that allows guns to fire hundreds of rounds per minute is no longer being enforced. Leave, but it's almost time to head back to school, and the newly appointed superintendent for Falls Church City District is gearing up for his first day.
Exciting, and they have 5 schools, about 3,200 students. Dr. Terry Dade pointed out a sudden surge in enrollment can be difficult for a school system this small, but he embraces the challenges and advantages that come with it.
The educational landscape is continuously evolving. One specific example is the world of AI and thinking about how and what that means for our students, our staff, and our families.
So he tells us he is eager to listen to the community on their needs. And the first day of school in Falls Church is Monday.
Right now on WJLA.com, our digital team is helping your family get ready for that new school year. And we've put together this list of key changes and some new policies that you can expect. Just search "What's new for DMV schools this fall." We're back right after this. All right, now to some other big news making headlines tonight. A federal judge denied the Trump administration's request to unseal grand jury materials from the Ghislaine Maxwell sex trafficking case. That's along with the fallout from the Jeffrey Epstein files debate. So, Jasmine, what was the judge's reasoning here?
Well, in a 31-page opinion, New York federal judge Paul Engelmeyer said unsealing the materials in Maxwell's case is not a matter of historical or public interest, suggesting the administration's push to release documents might be an intentional, quote, diversion. He went on to say that much of the grand jury material is already public and was presented during Maxwell's trial in 2021. Judge Engelmeyer also said that Maxwell and Epstein are the only people named in those records. This is now the second denial the DOJ received to unseal Epstein documents. A third federal judge is still considering the administration's request to unseal testimony in the second Epstein investigation back in 2019. Scott?
Jasmine, thank you. New tonight, there is a small device that can enable a gun to shoot hundreds of rounds a minute. It's called a forced reset trigger.
And they were seized by law enforcement because they were seen as a threat to public safety. But 7 News I-Team's Lisa Fletcher discovered many are being given back to their original owners.
Up to 900 rounds a minute fired with a single squeeze of the trigger, made possible by this, a forced reset trigger, or FRT. It is one of several machine gun conversion devices that make a semi-automatic weapon perform like a fully automatic one.
Is there any question in your mind that these devices turn a rifle into a machine gun?
No doubt that this can convert a semi-automatic into a machine gun.
In 2024, under Maryland Attorney General Anthony Brown, the state joined 26 others banning machine gun conversion devices.
When you think about the carnage that a machine gun can inflict in a community, it's made even worse by these machine gun type weapons.
ATF records show machine gun conversion devices are increasingly showing up at crime scenes. From this mass shooting in Towson, Maryland, that killed 1 and injured 8, to the Las Vegas concert, where one man using a bump stock fired more than 1,000 rounds, killing 60 and injuring 413 others. But For nearly a century, machine guns have been essentially illegal under U.S. law. And since 1986, possessing an unregistered machine gun or conversion device has been a federal crime.
These kinds of weapons present a very severe threat to public safety.
Steve Dettelbach led the ATF until January of 2025. He oversaw dozens of operations that seized machine gun conversion devices from violent gangs, criminals, and criminal organizations.
We did a search warrant on a home in New Jersey where the Latin Kings had kilos of drugs and weapons, right? They also had a stash of these machine gun conversion devices, a tool of the trade of gang membership, of drug dealing, of destruction.
But this year, a stunning exemption. After a legal challenge over the ATF's authority to declare FRT's machine guns, the government agreed to a deal to stop enforcing the federal ban on forced reset triggers and even give back more than 12,000 devices seized by ATF. Attorney General Pam Bondi cited the Second Amendment and said the settlement ends needless litigation and enhances public safety. FRT's maker, Rare Breed, didn't respond to our interview request, but has been on a public victory lap.
The fight is over. We won. We did it. We beat the ATF.
Announcing this summer that it sold 6,000 triggers in a 2-week period and that it's aiming to make the FRT a factory standard trigger on AR rifles, as well as making them available for other types of guns. Dettelbach saw the firepower firsthand.
I couldn't just fire one bullet. As quick as I would try to release the trigger, impossible to fire just one bullet. And think about how dangerous that is for people in the community. We're talking about a weapon that can fire 800, 900 rounds a minute. A minute.
Unleashing military-grade firepower, says Dettelbach. That's the reason Congress has long outlawed machine guns and the parts that create them.
If there are things we can do, reasonable things we can do to make sure that Congress's intent is effectuated and that there aren't machine guns being fired willy-nilly like jackhammers in the summer all over American streets, we ought to do them.
Maryland's Attorney General, along with 16 other AGs, filed suit to prevent the FRTs from being returned to their states. They were successful, but that doesn't mean they won't go back into circulation elsewhere. For owners who live in states where the devices are illegal, they can designate someone else to take possession of them. Lisa Fletcher, 7 News.
Okay, Steve, so I was outside. We were just discussing it outside for a few hours, doing some work in the yard today, and it doesn't take much for you to realize you're sneezing, your eyes are watering.
Yes.
There's a lot going on out there.
The sinus, so I think we're feeling it a little bit.
More so, you know, now that we're into almost late summer, a lot of different allergies come out for people because the leaves are beginning to dry out, the mold is beginning to increase, and then hay fever.
Ooh.
Hey, we got it.
Hay fever.
Hay fever. So tree pollen, grasses, and weeds are in the low category. Mold now in the moderate range, so just be on the lookout if you're sniffling and sneezing. That could be the reason. Now, early this morning, we had a little bit of patchy fog. It didn't amount to a whole lot, but we'll see a very similar case come tomorrow morning. It's not going to last very long. We're not expecting any type of delays, but it was a beautiful skyscape over National Harbor earlier today. 87 degrees right now at Reagan National, 86 in Winchester, 88 degrees in Frederick, hanging out in the lower 80s in southern Maryland, but those heat index values range anywhere from the upper 80s to middle 90s, so it's plenty warm out there. It's on the humid side, and we're going to stay that way for tomorrow, Wednesday, and then temperatures at or above 90 for the rest of the week, even into the upcoming weekend. Here is our forecast trend as our temperatures will dive into the 70s after sunset this evening. Eventually, we'll drop to around 70 to 75 degrees inside the Beltway by early tomorrow morning. It will be a little bit cooler off to the north and west of us with temperatures in the 60s. Now, first cup of coffee out the door tomorrow. We're in the 70s. We'll see mostly to partly cloudy skies, but our skies are definitely going to brighten as we head into the afternoon, and highs tomorrow afternoon range anywhere from the upper 80s to lower 90s. A nice mix of sun and clouds, and we're trending mainly on the dry side. When I say mainly on the dry side, there's a chance for a pop-up shower or thunderstorm. Here's our futurecast estimates moving into tomorrow afternoon, 2 o'clock, we're mainly dry, but then we could see a pop-up shower or storm. If we do see anything that pops on radar, gustier winds, winds, some heavier downpours, not going to last very long and will fizzle out pretty quickly. And then we'll do it all over again for the day on Wednesday. Chance for a few showers, chance for a few thunderstorms, but that severe weather risk remains relatively low. So good news there. Here's the next 7 days for you. We're around 92 on Wednesday, lower 90s on Thursday, dry Friday and into the weekend with temperatures in the lower 90s, warm and humid come early next week. We're back right after this.
President Trump believes Ukraine will have to give up some of the land that Russia invaded. And this coming ahead of his summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin on Friday. The two presidents will meet in Alaska. National correspondent Audra Elnashar revealing critical details about this upcoming meeting.
Days before he meets with Russia's president for what President Trump calls a feel-out meeting seeking to end the war in Ukraine, the leader of the free world seeming to make concessions on Ukraine's behalf.
There'll be some land swapping going on. I know that through Russia and through conversations with everybody. To the good, for the good of Ukraine. Good stuff, not bad stuff. Also, some bad stuff for both.
Ceding territory to Russia is something Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has long rejected.
Russia's desires to rule over Ukrainian territories will remain just desires as long as Ukrainians stand shoulder to shoulder, helping the army and helping the state.
There's a lot on the line for President Trump, who promised voters he would bring an end to this war. Lately, he's acknowledged Putin hasn't been dealing with him honestly.
I believe he wants to get it over with. Now, I've said that a few times, and I've been disappointed, because I'd have like a great call with him, and then missiles would be lobbed into Kiev or some other place.
Zelensky says over the past week, Russia has used more than 1,000 aerial bombs and 1,400 attack drones against Ukraine. European leaders standing firm with Ukraine in a joint statement saying in part, the path to peace in Ukraine cannot be decided without Ukraine. We remain committed to the principle that international borders must not be changed by force. President Trump is expected to huddle virtually with European allies ahead of the Friday summit. He says he'll also call them minutes after his meeting with Putin ends.
And I'm going to tell him what kind of a deal. I'm not going to make a deal. It's not up to me to make a deal.
The president shutting down speculation Zelensky could join them in Alaska.
I would say he could go, but he's gone to a lot of meetings. You know, he's been there for 3.5 years. Nothing happened.
Already looking to future summits.
The next meeting will be with Zelensky and Putin, or Zelensky and Putin and me. I'll be there if they need.
For now, the world waits for Friday, when two of the world's most powerful men gather in the Arctic, their first face-to-face meeting in more than 7 years. I'm Audra Elnashar reporting.
Right now at 6.
Under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States.
The D.C. Police federalized. The National Guard to be activated.
The main point is this: everybody should follow the law.
7 News on your side team coverage continues.